We're back. SwamiLee's Sports Talk. We're episode 9. I'm SwamiLee.
I'm your resident Eagles fan, Mellow Mike.
And we're here to talk some NFL draft. I know for a lot of you it's kind of hard to believe that we're actually talking football, but we are going to talk a little bit of football. Mike talked me into doing it. So let's see what we know about the upcoming draft. Mike, let's dive right into it. And let's start with the quarterback class, or the lack thereof, quarterbacks in this draft. Who is the first quarterback taken?
I think that some people are going to buy into Malik Willis had a great combine hype, and he's actually going to go before that Kenny Pickett.
So, to be clear, you're going with Malik Willis as the number one quarterback picked in the draft. Where is he going to go? What range?
Good question. I feel confident that he's going to be top 5.
Top 5? Mike, I've told you before, you can't drink before you come on camera. Okay? Tell me which team is going to take him. Is it going to be Jacksonville?
Well, of course not. They're
okay.
Detroit franchise quarterback.
Of course. But Detroit, are they going to use number 2 on Malik Willis when they have Jared Goff? I can make it easy for you, Mike. The answer is no. Your only prayer of a top 5 comes next with Houston, but they have Davis Mills already. Can you tell me that you're sure that Malik Willis is better than Davis Mills? Like, in other words, Trevor Lawrence is very most likely better than Davis Mills. But can you tell me you're confident Malik Willis is, that you would use a 3rd pick in the draft on him?
I would not.
Okay.
However, we've seen over and over again that NFL executives are going to go high risk, high reward for quarterbacks and draft them early.
Well, ain't going to happen, and nobody agrees with you on the planet for Houston, so we'll move on. We'll check out the Jets. The Jets going to take him? You know, they got that kid, Zach Wilson, right?
They're not ready to give up on him yet.
No. Now, here's another prayer for you. You got the Giants at number 5. But again, they have Daniel Jones. Can you tell me you're confident that Malik Willis is better than Daniel Jones?
No, I cannot.
Exactly. So you can't waste that pick on him. So, you know, now the funny part is you may be closer than you think. Carolina could snatch him at number 6. Okay? But if they don't snatch him at 6, you are looking at, it could be into the double digits before you see a quarterback taken. I mean, Atlanta could surprise you. I don't even know. Who's their quarterback this year? They traded for somebody, didn't they?
Atlanta signed Mariota.
So, again, I don't think they're going to take a quarterback, but especially in this week of a class, but it would not be inconceivable for them to. But I don't think they would. So you've got that Malik Willis as the first quarterback taken. So I'm guessing it's pretty obvious who the number 2 is going to be taken. Quarterback-wise.
Kenny Pickett.
The Kenny Pickett. I would agree with you. Is it possible he falls out of the first round as the second quarterback taken?
I think that's highly unlikely.
So where's he going in the first round?
Well, you know, I've seen one mock draft that has both the Panthers at 6 and the Falcons at 8 picking quarterbacks.
Which, of course, we said is a possibility. Again, I don't see it happening. I don't see the Falcons. You know, Mariota may not be the future, but he may be the present. And if you can build a strong enough offensive line, a strong enough defense, you can bring in the quarterback later. Okay, because they're not going to.
The Rams did.
Yeah, they're not going to compete this year. The Falcons. I mean, they're not going to. So, I'm thinking a lot of mock drafts have the Steelers taking a quarterback. And I don't necessarily believe that's going to happen, but I wouldn't rule it out either. If Willis is the only quarterback off the board, Pickett or even Coral could go to the Steelers. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, let me tell you something. The latest mock draft that I saw has 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10.
Okay. The Crack User Anonymous mock draft is not really a good reference point. Okay? Tell me the 4 teams taking the quarterbacks. I don't even care who they take. Just give me the 4 teams that took quarterbacks.
Saints, Seahawks, Falcons, Jets.
The Jets. Okay.
Already. No, Saints, Seahawks, Falcons, Panthers.
So it wasn't the Jets.
Correct.
Okay, I was going to say, because it already has no credibility because the Jets are not taking a quarterback. I don't care if Dan Marino comes down from the heavens and he's still alive. But if he get out from the heavens, they're not taking a quarterback. Okay, so...
Isn't Dan still alive?
Yes, he is. I said that. I was just making a reference point. It wasn't actually, So, wait a minute. So, yes, all 4 of those teams, in theory, could use a quarterback. I'm with you, okay? But if you are the 4th team on that list... Are you taking Desmond Ridder in the top 10?
Well, are you asking me?
Yes,
or
you.
Are you asking some?
Well,
are you asking NFL?
You're the NFL GM.
Who have a track record of making bad choices.
You're the NFL GM. Are you taking Desmond Ridder in the top 10? Hell, are you taking Matt Corral in the top 10? Forget Ridder.
I wouldn't make that mistake, but there are lots of NFL personnel people who would.
I don't see, in 1,000,001 years, I don't see even 3 quarterbacks going in the top 10, yet 4. Now, again, time will tell, and we all know that the Swami is not a football expert, especially when it comes to the draft. But absolutely not. If 2 go in the top 10, I'll be surprised, but I won't be shocked. I will be surprised, but I will not be shocked. But if 3 go in the top 10, not a prayer. So... Mike, bottom line, how many quarterbacks do you think will be taken in the top 10?
In the top 10?
Yes.
I think at least 3 of those 4 teams I mentioned are going to take quarterbacks with the top 10.
Okay, so here we go. The Swami says, I'm going to go with 2 quarterbacks in the top 10. I have my doubts, but when you mention the Saints and the Seahawks, neither one has a quarterback, like a long-term quarterback. So I could see one of them squeaking out a quarterback. The Falcons are not taking a quarterback in the first round. I could see the Panthers, unless they make a trade. There was a rumor they were going to pick up a quarterback in a trade the other day. They were talking about Baker Mayfield. I don't see them trading for Mayfield and taking a quarterback. Makes no sense.
No, you're right. They won't do both.
So I'm going to say 2. Mike says 3. We'll revisit this after the draft. So, Mike, let's move on to the consensus overall number 1 pick, and that is.
Is that Trayvon Walker?
Well, I don't know where you're looking because everywhere I look, it's that Aiden Hutchinson. Now, again, do they really know any more than you know or I know?
Well,
I don't. Who knows?
The bottom line is that when you're talking about defensive linemen, there's not going to be a consensus clear number 1 pick.
Seems
not going to happen.
Pretty much everywhere I look has Hutchinson going 1 and then some combination of players going between 2 and 4. That's what I've been noticing. Now, I'm going to give you something very interesting. Okay.
Please.
This is pay attention now. This is a Swami only piece of information you'll get from nowhere else. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I've got my seatbelt on. I'm
Aiden
ready for
Hutchinson is going to start an NFL. I guess trend is the best word to use. I can't think of a better word to use than trend. Mike, what is that trend? Do you have any idea in 1,000,001 years?
I do not.
You are going to start seeing over the next 5 to 10 years a boatload of players named Aiden coming into the NFL. Because it is the hip, hot name, call it what you will. There are probably a zillion young kids between the ages of birth and 18 named Aiden out there. There's probably, literally millions of them. Okay, just like Shaquille. I predicted back in 1993 that we would start seeing Shaquilles in professional sports around 2010, 2015. Now, we didn't see as many as I thought, but we saw multiple Shaquilles around that same 2010, 2015. And you're going to
Well,
start seeing
I'm
Aidens.
going to have to check the 2020 census data to confirm your Aiden
Oh, don't.
hypothesis.
And now I know there's a couple already in professional sports. You're also going to start seeing the Ethans come out. Because I don't know if you know, in our day, it was Joseph and it was Michael and it was Robert and it was Thomas.
I do recollect our day.
In this game, it's Aiden and Ethan. I mean, they're everywhere. And for females, there's Zoe. I mean, there's like a billion
Don't forget
Zoes.
Savannah.
Say it again?
Don't forget Savannah.
Well, yeah, we could go on and on and on and on and on. I'm talking about names that kind of annoy me, like Zoe.
Ah.
It just annoys me. I can't explain to you why, but it really does annoy me. But sorry if you're named Zoe out there. I apologize, but you know the Swami gets annoyed easily, as everybody knows. So, Mike, anyway,
He
back.
is old and crotchety.
What was that?
I said he is old and crotchety.
There is no question about that. I don't think anybody doubts that. So now we've got Aiden Hutchinson, the first of many Aidens that will be in the NFL in a very, very near time. So, Mike, the number 2 pick I don't think is quite as obvious as allegedly the number 1 pick is. Who do you think is going number 2?
Well, I would say that it is one of 2 players. It is either Aiden Hutchinson.
Well, we're assuming he's going. Hang on. For this conversation, we're assuming he goes number 1.
Okay, if we assume that he goes number 1, then the number 2 pick is either going to be Georgia's Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman, or Cincinnati cornerback Ahmad Sauce Gardner. And no, I did not get on the sauce to make that prediction.
Well, I believe that 2 to 4 are all over the place. I don't think, and again, there's no guarantees that anyone's going to specifically go 1 or 1, 2, whatever. You may be right. The first of many Aidens may end up going number 2, but going with the assumption he goes number 1, a lot of people were talking about that Ikem Ekwonu, because he's an offensive lineman. He's supposed to be a really good offensive lineman, and Detroit hasn't. Usually they take wide receivers in the first round, as they've done so many times this millennium. I can't even begin to tell you, and they love receivers named Mike Williams. But what do you think about that Ikem Ekwonu as number 2?
No, they're going to go defense.
Defense. So if they go defense, do you see them going anything but a lineman number 2? In other words, could you see them going cornerback or safety number 2 overall?
That guy Gardner has gotten such good press. He's so highly regarded. I think it's a possibility, although more likely they're going to pick a lineman.
Well, if I had to venture to guess, I'm either they're going to go with Ikem Ekwonu or the Trayvon Walker. I mean, I think they're going to, again, it's so rare to take a cornerback or a defensive back, we'll just say, that early. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think we'd have to do some digging to find the last cornerback to go in the top 2.
Now, I don't remember any cornerbacks, or I don't remember any defensive backs who have gone higher than 7 or 8.
So let me ask you this. You're Detroit. You screw everything up. I mean, you have a history of doing nothing right. But you're looking at that defensive back. You really want him. You trade down? Trade back if anybody wants to even talk to you about it? And the second question is, do you think anybody even want to talk about it?
I don't think you're going to see too many teams trying to trade up in the top 5, because this draft, not just a quarterback, really, it's regarded as a weak draft compared to recent years.
Yep.
And so who wants to pay somebody top 5 money who's really not a top 5 caliber player?
Again, I hear you. Now, usually you would have to expect that the top 5, 6, 7 players have got to potentially be studs, even in a weak draft. Now, again, we have no quarterbacks that are supposed to be studs, but you never know. I mean, this draft actually reminds me of 2003, the Carson Palmer draft. There was nothing in it. I mean, it was a really bad draft, but they may surprise us. But I'd have to hope. Let's just say Hutchinson goes number 1 for the sake of argument. And let's just say he is not Chase Young. He is not, want to go way back, Russell Maryland. Okay? You have to hope, injuries aside, obviously that will affect it, he'll at least be a number 5 pick or a number 10 pick in a previous draft that had more talented players. So.
Oh, you mean he'll be the 2022 Mike Mamula?
Oh, the workout warrior. The workout warrior. I'm just saying, I have to think that if you pick properly, your top 4, 5, 6 guys, no matter what, should turn out pretty well. There's no guarantees. We all know that. But they should, no matter how weak a draft it is, they should turn out pretty well because, again, even if he would have been number 8 in last year's draft, he'd still be a top 10 pick. And, again, we both know how many top 10 picks fail. But the theory I'm talking about. What do you think about that?
Yeah, in theory,
Oh, we just lost Mike. We just lost Mike, as you can see.
I see myself.
Oh, he found himself, but he's back. I thought we lost him. We're way too far in the show to start over, Mike. So, Are you back?
Yeah, I've never been gone.
Oh, we lost you for a second. I don't know what happened. We lost you for a second. We're back. Well, we better move on a little bit, Mike, because
Well, let me just say that apparently the football gods don't want me to say that if you get one of the top 5 or 10 players coming out in any season, you should be able to get at least a good player, if not a stud.
Unless you're the Lions and you take a wide receiver who's named Mike Williams. But, again, we'll move past that part. So, Mike, let's talk about the Eagles for a minute. So, number 15, first of all, do they keep it or trade it?
I hope that they keep it.
Okay, because, they already traded one of their picks, so... And who are they going to pick, or what position do you think they're going to pick, or what's the plan?
Well, my first instinct is to say that the plan has to be pick the 2 best defensive players on the board,
which makes sense.
At everywhere in the defense, line, linebacker, and defensive back, they have need. Of course, that doesn't change the fact that if with crappy coaching, which is what the defense got last year, you can draft the best players in the world, and they can only do so much.
That is very true. And in Philadelphia, we are used to seeing failure when it comes to coaching. We watch it with the Phillies every day. But when you're sitting on picks 15 and 18, okay, that close together with 2 picks, it's got to be tough to screw them both up. Would you not say?
I agree.
So do you feel they're going to take? Do you feel they're going to take 2 defensive players, maybe a defensive lineman and a defensive back?
That is ideally what they would do. It wouldn't surprise me if at least if they pick one of them as an offensive player, whether it's a lineman who they don't necessarily need right now, or another wide receiver who they do need because they haven't drafted wide receiver well for the most part.
Well, they're going to move Arcega-Whiteside to tight end. Did you read that?
I heard that. And, of course, at 6'2", even if he adds 20 pounds of muscle, he's still going to be too small to block a good defensive lineman.
That's a good point. Well, Mike, let's wind down our draft discussion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm sure you're not spending a lot of time reading up on the Steelers, so I'll tell you what I've been reading up on.
Well, let me ask you a question first.
Yes.
What I've read is that the Steelers have a general manager who's going to handle this draft and then step down.
Correct.
Why would ownership let someone who's on his way out screw up another draft?
Well, you shouldn't say screw up another draft because the Steelers do not have a history of screwing up drafts. Although, don't misunderstand, they've got some bad picks in their arsenal. Okay, remember Artie Burns? Burns was
I
the right
can't say
name
as I
because he
do.
got burned every time he covered a receiver. So they've had some. They traded up for Devin Bush. He hasn't done overly well. So from that perspective, they've made mistakes. But you have to realize this guy, Kevin Colbert, he's a Steeler. Like he's not looking for a job with the Panthers next season. He's probably going to be retired and be an advisor or be out of the NFL. So they have confidence in him that he's more prepared for the draft than a guy they brought in a month ago that's had a month to prepare based on the roster. That's my take for what little I know about the situation.
I guess that's fair.
Again, if they were firing him or if he was looking for a job with another organization right away, this would not be a good decision. I'm with you 100%. But I do believe that when you're a lifer like he is, I mean, he's been there for 20 years or something like that, and you're retiring, you can do one more draft. So,
And certainly the Rooneys have a good track record for showing loyalty.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. So now we're talking with Pittsburgh. We're talking about, obviously, there's a need for quarterback. Although I think Trubisky has potential to be not necessarily a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but a 10-7 type quarterback with a decent team around him. So again, yes, we'd all like to win the Super Bowl, but at the same time, it's better than having that dreck of Cliff Stout and David Woodley and Bubby Brister and that Penn State
Tommy
guy
Maddox.
Blackledge. What's that?
Tommy Maddox.
Exactly. So I think Trubisky's a step above all those scrubs. So I think depending upon quarterbacks left on the board, I mean, they're not going to drop down and take Carson Strong in the first round. There's no way it's going to happen. Okay? I mean, if Malik somehow fell to 20, I'm sure they take him, but he's not going to fall to 20. Pickett and Coral, are they going to? Again, you're thinking they're going to be gone in the top 10, and part of me is
I
thinking
do.
one of them may still be there at 20. And the question is, are they going to take them, or are they going to go into the desperate need? You know, they need an offensive tackle, and they need defensive linemen. So those needs may come down to the best available talent on the board, be it a quarterback, be it a defensive lineman, be it an offensive lineman. Hell, even a cornerback they could use. So
Well, let me ask you.
Yes.
Hold on. Do the Steelers see themselves as really being in rebuild mode, or are they going to pick a player who they think gives them the best chance to go to the playoffs again next season
Steelers
without
don't
really fixing the problems?
Steelers don't rebuild. Okay? They retool, they do not rebuild. Okay? You will never see the Steelers tanking to get top draft picks. So, yes, okay, let's say a stud lineman drops to them, but he's not really NFL ready, which is why he dropped. But he was projected to be a top 10 pick. Okay? I could see them taking him and not necessarily jumping for the, win now situation. That being said, that's probably not going to happen. Okay? I think, again, I'm going with the best talent available. And unfortunately, that means it could be, if a quarterback drops and they have, let's say they have Kenny Pickett above a lineman, they'll take Kenny Pickett. Or if they have the lineman above Matt Corral, they'll take the lineman. I think that's the direction they're going to go. They're definitely going the best talent available, and that could be nearly any position aside from running back, because of course the running back they don't need. But I could see them taking, and they're going to take a receiver in the second round, so it won't be a receiver in the first round, unless a guy who's supposed to be a top 5-8 pick drops to 20, which isn't going to happen. So I know it's a kind of a wishy-washy answer, but I really believe the best talent on the board is going to the Steelers. While I agree with you, the Eagles are going to take 2 defensive players for sure in the first round. That's what I think.
Well, that's certainly what they should do.
Well, we shall see. We're not that far away from the draft. Mike, we got winding down. Any last thoughts?
Well, no. I'm ready to sit back and see which teams screw it up and which teams get it right. And I'm going to have some faith that my Eagles are going to get it right, even though I think there's a chance that they could pick another wide receiver and get it wrong again, which is what they've done, except for Devontae Smith.
Is Nate Brown Jr. available for the draft? Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this SwamiLee draft preview special. We will see you again soon. Again, please like this video if you like the video, and subscribe if you like us. And if you don't like us, well, we don't like you either. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm SwamiLee.
I'm Mellow Mike.
Have a great day.